Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Wednesday's Coffee Chat with Eileen. I just got back from a trip to Texas, and the trip really had me thinking about seasons of life and how sometimes God's plan looks completely different from the one we have for ourselves. Texas was home to me for most of my life. My parents, my siblings, and my friends, so many memories were there, all there. Honestly, I never could imagine that I would ever leave Texas. But several years ago, my life took a turn I wasn't expecting. I lost my job after 9 years, and I was trying desperately to find another one. I had a family to support, and financially, I was getting to a scary place. I had gone through all that I had available, and I was literally down to my last check. And then an opportunity came up in Tennessee. At that time, moving to Tennessee wasn't part of my plan at all. It meant leaving my parents, who were getting older, my siblings, my friends, and everything familiar. It meant moving my kids away from their father and so much of what they knew. And for a period of time, I even had to leave my son behind while he was in college. And that absolutely broke my heart. But sometimes you reach a point where you have to move forward, even when you don't understand where God is taking you. So we sold our house. We put all our things in storage, packed up our F-150, and my husband, my daughter, our two dogs, and I headed to Tennessee. We actually lived in a hotel for a couple of weeks while we were getting settled looking for a home. And I'll tell you, I didn't understand God's plan. I knew I needed the job. I needed to take care of my family. But in my heart, Texas was still my home. And then about 6 years later, I lost my job again in Nashville. And once again, everything felt uncertain. And this time I thought maybe this was our opportunity to go back to Texas. It was during COVID, and we seriously looked at moving back. We even purchased property, had a house drawn up by an architect. In my mind, I thought, this is it. We're going home. But things didn't work out. Looking back now, I realized something very important. That was my plan. It wasn't God's plan. We had always enjoyed coming to Chattanooga, especially because we loved the lake and the area. One day we were driving around looking at homes when we drove through the subdivision. There was a beautiful cottage-like white house sitting on a lot near the cul-de-sac. It was surrounded by trees, and the subdivision was really close to the lake. I pointed it and told my husband that would be my dream home. It wasn't even for sale. But the next day, for some reason, I decided to call the builder and ask whether there happened to be any lots available that we could build on. And he told me something I never expected. The very house I pointed to and called my dream home was available. Within about 2 hours, we were headed back to Chattanooga, and we bought that house. It's the home you see so often here at Home with Eileen. Now, fast forward to this trip back to Texas. We planned a trip across Texas so we could visit people we hadn't seen in a while, spend time with family and friends, visit some of the places we missed, and of course, eat some of the food in Texas we've missed so much. And when I first got there, I saw all those familiar things that I'd missed so much. There was part of me that thought, oh, I really missed this. But then something happened after a couple of days. I realized it wasn't the same anymore. Not because Texas had changed into something bad, and not because I don't still love it. A part of my heart will probably always belong to Texas. But I realized that Texas represented a season of my life, and that season had passed. You know, my children are grown now, and are living their own lives. Becoming an empty nester has not always been an easy transition for me. Life looks very different today than it did when I first packed that truck and left Texas. But so do I. And somewhere along the way, Tennessee stopped being that place I had moved to and become home. I love our life in Tennessee. I love Chattanooga. I love our home near the lake. And I've finally been open to this new season of my life instead of wishing I could go back to the old one. And that's really what I wanted to share in today's coffee chat. Sometimes we're so busy asking God why He's taken something away or why He's moving us somewhere we never planned to go that we can't see yet see He's moving us toward something even better. When I left Texas, I didn't understand. When my plans to move back fell apart, I didn't understand that either. But looking back now, I can see so many reasons why God moved me forward. And I'm learning that we don't always have to understand God's plan in order to trust Him. Sometimes a season ends. Sometimes homes change. Sometimes we change. And sometimes the life we've never planned for becomes the life we're incredibly grateful to have. Texas will always be part of my story, and I will always miss my family dearly. But Tennessee is home now. And as I enter this next season of my life, I'm excited to see what God has planned for me next. Thanks for having coffee with me today. And if you're in a season where God's plan doesn't make sense yet, maybe don't assume you're on the wrong road. You might just not be far enough down it yet to see where He's taking you.